Southwest Airlines wants to thank the Southern Mexico Honor Flight. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Greetings on our flight number 9 from southern New Mexico, and I know a few of you folks are also from Texas. And what an honor for me to greet you as you came into Washington D.C. today. I know for some of you it was a long flight. I hope your time here is wonderful and enjoyable. I tell you, we are connected in service. And so even though I may be a few years younger than you, let me tell you, I have all the respect for the service that you've given to our nation. And that's how we are connected in service. So thank you and welcome to Washington, D.C.
The best thing that happened to me, I met a white sergeant. She outranked me, and 6 months later, she ordered me to marry her. Now that little lady happens to be out of Maine. She joined the white because her brother was in Europe. So this little lady, along with her best friend, said, let's join the army. Well, her best friend failed the physical, but Ida Mae had to go on her own.
When we landed in Houston, I couldn't believe the reception. I mean, little kids, school kids, big people, old people waved. I looked around and I could not believe the reception. But I was just overcome. I cried.
I served in the WAAC, the WAC after that. The WAC was formed by having the first 9 classes of officer candidate school were taken directly from civilian life. From then on, they came from the ranks. One of the commanders, and this had been someone who did not want WACs, and after a short time he had written to Washington and said that he needed more toilet paper for his women, that 2 sheets per man per day was not enough for the women. Shortly after I was commissioned, I was sent to chemical warfare school in Edgewood Arsenal, Maryland. At least the publicity said that we were the first 6 WACs that were sent to an Army school. I don't know, maybe it was a little exaggerated, but we were one of the first. We got varied reactions. Mostly the only negative ones were they thought it was funny and went down the street yelling quack, quack, quack after you. And Fort Des Moines became very popular reporters and everybody wanted to get out there. And then a lot of important people came. Mrs. Roosevelt, and she was so charming. As you went through a reception line, you just felt like she'd known you all your life. She seemed to give a personal reply to everybody.
That's right.
I stand on the shoulders of these giants.
Exactly.
When I went into the service, I was assigned to the reception center. That's where all the soldiers come in initially. Soldiers that work there were Japanese Americans. And all of my friends later on, they used to call me Elias Campos Moto. They used to make fun of me because I was with all the Japanese guys in there. They didn't want to send them to the Pacific. But later on, they sent them to Europe. And they became the most decorated unit in the United States Army. And they used to go to my house and they learn how to eat Mexican food, enchilada and tacos and all that stuff, especially in Germany. It was very hard to see a standing building. All the people were cooking outside. A lot of people were living outside, and they used to sleep outside. A lot of people. I used to help with them. I used to get somebody's K ration. Giving the people K ration and make meals out of it. People were very, very, very generous about it. When I was a medic, we used to pick up kids, 14, 15 years old. Some of them were wounded, and most of them they were crying. They wanted to go back to their home. 14 and 15-year-old kids, I said, I hope my kids will never go through that.
We were going through the streets of Brest, and for some reason they said, hold up, we just want you to take cover in the buildings there. We'd take turns stepping out of the building to see when they gave us the sign, and it came my turn, and I stepped out there and I looked around, and I just felt like somebody was staring at me. I could feel it. I stood there for a few minutes, then I flinched. And as I flinched, the sniper fired at me, and he's probably aiming between my eyes. But when I flinched, it hit me in the leg instead. Flipped me, and I fell on my back. And I looked up, and there was a smoke ring going up like that. And I laughed. I said, well, that halo missed me. I said, I believe I can go ahead. I kind of wanted to finish that battle. And they said, oh no, you can't go. You've had it for this battle. And we laid on an airstrip with no doctors, no nurses for 10 days.
My first trip over Korea, though, I got acquainted with the kiki bird. I wanted to find out what that was. When I got over Korea, I found out what it was. And it said, kiki crisis, cold over here in Korea. And it was very cold over there in Korea. Over there, I saw duty and whatever, I'm not going in all that kind of mess, but it was interesting. And I got my GED in the Navy because you could go in the Navy then without your high school diploma. I enjoyed my naval career, but I like the civilian life better.
The Battle of the Bulge started, and I saw that big flight of planes. Nobody has ever described it like Ernie Pyle did. More planes than you can imagine. Prop planes. We are in Metz, and the people in Alsace-Lorraine speak a mixture of German and French and whatever they want to make up for themselves. At the mess hall outside, had our stuff slopped into a mess kit. You know what the old mess kits were? On a handle, right? And a little girl just about this high, or a little bit taller, about 6, came up to my elbow and said in absolutely perfect schoolbook French, bon appetit. I get emotional, but it's good.
That's okay.
She was trained by the nuns because that's where she got that perfect French, and she was very polite. The nuns came for the coffee because when the service is through with the coffee, it is discarded. The French had not had decent coffee for 5 or 6 years. They took that coffee home and dried it and roasted it again and were thankful for it. What the mess hall threw away. My best friend, Norman Kramer, and this is Germans, as I said, were on the run then. He took a stroll in the woods. He could have been court-martialed for it. He brought back a German prisoner. Norman was of the Hebrew extraction, dark complexion. Very definitely, the man knew who had him. And I don't know which of the two were the palest, because Norman had the rifle on him, and neither one of them knew when that gun was going to go off. And Norman brought him in. He should not have been up in those woods, because this man had been sent as a scout, probably, or as a spotter even. But Norman found him in the woods because he liked to stroll around, and he shouldn't have done that. He was AWOL, but that was Norman. He was my best friend, and we got along just fine.
we had a problem with an airplane going over to Korea. Had to go a day later than we planned. I missed a ship I was going to go on. I found out later that ship got a 2-inch shell in the wheelhouse, killed everybody there. I would have been one of them if I had made that ship. So we wound up going on another ship. We had one young fella who was married. I got to know him and his wife. At one time we were on the beach and he had gone further in. He got back within, probably 100 feet of the boat we were going to go back out to ship on. And a sniper hit him right below the helmet. And I thought, how strange that is. The only kid there that was married actually had a life. The rest of us were just cannon fodder, you know. And he's the only one that got killed that way, you know. So I would sometimes go over on a boat crew, handle the radio and the machine gun. These boats would go right up on the beach, lower the ramp. It had 8 40-millimeter gun tubs, and they were radar directed. So from 6 miles away, you could hit an outhouse with them. If you knew where it was, all you had to do was know where it was, and you could put that radar right on that spot. When we went to Korea Memorial and we saw these 19 figures, that was me. I saw the man with a carbine, a handheld radio. You could yell to the end of the wall and do better than when you talked on those damn things. Many of you know the history of Pork Chop Hill. Those 19 people that you saw this afternoon, I had about 25 of them. My first squad got down the hill into the valley. About that time, all hell broke loose. My radio was knocked out within a matter of maybe 3 to 4 minutes. I had lost 5 men dead, and I called the company and said, can you reinforce me? I have machine gun fire on 3 sides. There was an interruption in there and said, there's no such thing as you being fired on by 3 people. And I said, you son of a bitch, if you don't believe it, come out here.